leaving there. It's Ukraine in, well, we might say lane number 1, and France in lane 2. Here we have stroke Andrei Yakimchuk, and then it's Leonid Pritula on the bow position, coxed by Yuri Pанчук. It's a very old Olympic class, one of the oldest. Now it's a non-Olympic event, but was in the Olympic program until 1992.
Right, and when we raced back then, the Abignale brothers from Italy, they were the reigning champions and very famous, along with their coxswain Giuseppe Di Capua.
Heroes not only of our sport, but also in Italy, and especially in Napoli, where they come from. They were extremely popular. So France with Benoit Demet, William Chopy, Anthony Benoit is coxing. And, I mean, you could say that two boats racing is, well, not comparable to six-lane racing. But if you look at Oxford-Cambridge, well, it's tangent all the way down the course, and probably this is the same here. It's about rank 7, 8 in the world ranking, and we see a very quick start from the French.
One thing here, with only two boats racing, they're going to hear each other's calls. Now, granted, the calls are going to be in two completely different languages, but you can still hear from the tone of the coxswain. You can tell when the other team is taking an attack.
All right.
So this will be a very intimate race with these two crews.
So do they have a loudspeaker on board as well in the cox pair, you think?
I think they still do.
All right.
Yeah. You know, that's a good question.
Sometimes I think in this case Anthony Benoit doesn't use one, so he turns his head and shouts at his crew. It's a very young crew, actually both born in 1992, so they're both 19 years, whereas the Ukrainians are 27 and 25, so should be more experienced there. But France so far performed better. They were third in their heat, whereas the Ukraine was fourth. And also in the reps, the French were fifth and Ukraine sixth. So on paper, the French should also be the favorites of this race. So far, they manage well and move away a little bit from Ukraine.
And you're right. I'm looking at well, definitely in the French boat there was no headset on that coxswain, so they are using their voices. In a headwind, you're fine. In a tailwind, it could be a little tricky.
All right, yeah. So the strokeman might not be able to hear the commands properly, you think, the announcements?
Certainly, and I mean, of course you're going to yell as loud as you can, but that coxswain is pointed in the opposite direction.
Yeah, you're right. So 1/4 of the race gone, and it's France leading Ukraine already by nearly 2 lengths. So that's roughly what we expected on paper. We have the A final later on in this class. At 12:15 with Croatia, Canada, Italy, Australia, Germany and the United States vying for the medals. And this is the B final of the men's cox 4. Very relaxed style of rowing. The French always manage to get a style of very fluent, very elegant rowing. Do you agree on that?
I do, and at the same time I think that they have really excellent leg drive. And certainly if you're rowing in, nicknamed the human leg sled, you've got to have excellent leg power, because not only are you propelling your own weight in the boat, you're also pushing coxswain and the weight of that coxswain.
Excellent. So the boat is around the same weight, about 30 kilos, but you have a 55-kilo coxswain on board who steers this class. So I think it was in the Olympic program from 1900 to 1992, so a long time. And well, in Europe sometimes it's called the water taxi or the water cab, because the two cab drivers carry their load, which is the coxswain. So the French definitely also have some recent good records. They were third in the cox 4 at the Amsterdam Under-23 event just 4 weeks ago. So they just went to a training camp to go down to the smaller boat class. I don't think there's too much adaptation needed between the cox 4, also a cox boat carrying a weight, that's what I mean, compared to this cox pair. What do you think?
I agree, and even in the Canadian team system, the two guys in the cox pair are actually the alternates for the 8. you know,
All right,
for the
so
8 and the 4.
for the
so
fastest class, so the
Sure.
slowest sweep class, also alternates for the fastest sweep class. Yeah, the point is what we're talking about is the speed of the blade through the water. So in the Cox pair, the stroke rates are much lower than, for instance, in the 8s, and
Sure.
the time the blade stays in the water is much longer. So because it takes longer to get the boat into speed. So it's a different style of rowing a bit between 8s and Cox pairs.
And
But
a lot of
this
times,
is actually Benoit Dumay, the French bowman, with his stroke man, William Chopy, and they're doing fine so far, building up a distance or a margin on Ukraine in lane 1.
a lot of times a Cox pair is an excellent boat for developing a rower who's maybe working on his connection as well, because it is a slower boat, so it gives you a little more time to get that blade locked in the water. And a lot of young rowers start out in an event like the Cox pair, and then as their skills improve, they can move up. But in the case of the Abignali brothers, who were, you know, famous, and Greg Searle, who won the Olympic gold medal in this event, he's now racing for Great Britain in the men's 8 at the age of 41.
It's only 19 years later,
yeah,
so.
right. Or is he 39?
He's 39, yeah,
right,
you're right, absolutely.
Right, but in the case of those guys, they were just so strong and powerful, the event really did suit them.
Powerful men in the Ukrainian pair, but in Cox pair, but they don't get that boat speed necessary in this case to follow the French crew. Ukraine definitely happy about their overall performance, because they managed to get their 8 through and went into the A final, thus securing an Olympic berth for Ukraine in the 8. So pretty good.
And France here now extending the lead even more, entering the final quarter of the race. It's now up to 8 seconds. They gained another 3 seconds and change in that last 500 meters. But it's all out now, because this is the final race for these guys in the regatta. And of course, especially if they're in any kind of selection for an Olympic boat, they want to send a message to their coaches.
Absolutely.
That they are performers.
And it applies definitely for both crews, because you probably both coaches have looked on the paper and saw the difference also in the repechage between the two crews, and they're now being measured by that difference set in the repechage. Can the French increase their margin over the Ukrainians, or can the Ukrainians be a little bit closer to the French? So as you said, it's all about Olympic selection again, because the French were not so lucky this year. They didn't qualify the men's 4, nor did they qualify the men's 8, nor the pair. So there's going to be a lot of reshufflement in the French team, and the Ukraine now, as I said, they have to look forward to a straight Olympic preparation for their 8, and so they need these 2 strong athletes as well to form a strong team. You have to have 16 athletes to form a real good 8. 16 athletes of about the same level of capabilities. Coming to this closing stage of this race, we see the French pair unchallenged all the way down the course, with just a few strokes to take them down to the line. Benoit Dumay, William Chopy, and the coxswain Anthony Benoit. They win this B final, thus finishing 7th overall in the world ranking. And the second across the line will be Ukraine, Leonid, Pritula, Andrei, Yakimchuk, and coxswain Yuri, Panchuk, 8th overall in the world ranking.
We need to make a correction to the adapted men's single sculls result. Often the results